Hello everyone, Francis Walsh here again with the Personal Finance Diaries, and today we're going to be discussing the best car lease takeover sites. Now there are a number of ways you can exit a car lease and a number of different companies that can help you do it. And the MO of each of these companies kind of varies a little bit. So there are some that will help you swap a lease to someone else. There are some who will help you buy out your lease or sell it to someone else. And they each kind of have their own different ways of doing things. And a lot of this will depend on your own circumstances, so the way it best suits you to exit your lease. But there are a lot of features of each of these companies that can make life easier or more difficult for you, depending on the position you're in. So I've looked at 5 of the leaders in this space in this video, and hopefully I'll be making some recommendations that will be useful for you. So first we'll be looking at Lease End. Now Lease End operates by helping you to either buy out your lease, or alternatively, Lease End will buy your car from you and sell it on at a profit. And if they do the latter option, they will take a cut of these profits as their payment. In the former case, they make their money by origination financing. So essentially, they'll help you find a loan to buy your leased vehicle. And once they do that, they will take an origination fee from the bank, essentially for helping the bank to find a customer. So that's the first big thing to note about Lease End, is that it doesn't charge direct consultation fees. As we'll see as the video goes on, this isn't standard across providers in this area. Some of them do charge quite significant consultation fees, and this will occur even if you don't successfully exit your lease. So this is probably the biggest advantage of Lease End, I would say, from your perspective, is that you're not paying unnecessary money to have your car sitting around on a listing website only for your lease to not get transferred. It's pretty good value for money from the point of view that you're not having to pay anything unless the whole process works for you. I would also say it's very easy to use. The platform is really set up with kind of ease of use in mind, and the process is quite painless in that respect. It's also quite quick, and as you can see right here on the homepage, it takes just 12 minutes to get started, whether you call up a rep or just get the process done online. So it's pretty painless from that point of view too. And if you do this kind of thing manually, like, if you try to handle your lease exit by yourself, you will find that it's quite labor intensive. So this is another big and important selling point of Lease End. And so overall, I'm a really big fan of what Lease End are doing. I think they're making life really easy for drivers, and I think they're providing a great value for money service. So I'm generally, quite happy to recommend Lease End to people who are trying to exit their car leases. Next, we're going to be looking at Swap a Lease. Now, Swap a Lease is quite different from Lease End in terms of how it operates. Rather than allowing you to buy your car or to sell off your leased car, it will allow you to swap your leased vehicle with someone else. So just allow someone else to take over your lease, essentially. And Swap a Lease itself just functions really as a listing platform for this type of transaction. So you'll put up a listing of your vehicle with its details and its leasing information, all that kind of thing. And then the other users on the platform will come across it and see if it might make sense for them to take it over. So this might make more sense for you if you're in a financial position where you just want to get rid of your lease as opposed to actually buying your car or selling it. But other than that, there are a few drawbacks here to keep in mind when you compare Swap a Lease to the likes of Lease End. So first of all, there's a lot more work involved on your end. You have to create the listing yourself, and once the listing is live, you have to field interest from parties who see your car and might want to lease it. So there's a lot more legwork involved. And there's also more cost involved, particularly considering that you might end up paying money without actually getting rid of your vehicle. So there's a listing fee, which at the basic level is $79, and on higher tiers can be $199 or even up to $299. And these are payable regardless of whether your lease transfer actually goes through. And there's also a success fee to pay if it does go through. I would say that their customer support is quite solid, and they do have a reasonably high success rate, but just because of the ease of use and cost factors involved here, I would be a little bit cautious with Swap a Lease. The next platform we're looking at here is Lease Trader. Now Lease Trader, again, as the name suggests, operates quite similarly to Swap a Lease. Rather than buying or selling the car in question, you're going to be looking to swap the lease with someone else. And there are a lot of similarities between Lease Trader and Swap a Lease, and some might say that there's not that much to divide them. The one thing I would point out here is that Lease Trader's customer support is a little bit more attentive than swap leases, and it does make the process a little bit easier. There's a little bit more support throughout it, and it makes things, you know, a little bit less difficult for you. However, you are still very much relying on third-party interest if you're looking to offload your vehicle. If your vehicle doesn't represent a good deal at the kind of the terms of the lease, then you may struggle to drum up interest in it, and you're still paying a listing fee regardless of whether or not your transfer goes through. So, you know, while people do have a lot of success in this platform, and while I would say it's a little bit more robust than Swap a Lease, it does still have those issues around cost and around speed that you won't get with the likes of Lease End. So next we'll be looking at CarMax. And now CarMax is something a little bit different again. It's really a used car purchaser and seller more so than a lease exit specialist. It's your more traditional kind of car dealership, I suppose. But it will buy you out of a lease if it makes financial sense for the company to do so. So essentially how that would work is you go to a CarMax outlet or you do an online application and you put in the terms of your lease and your vehicle and all that kind of thing. If the company can see that it will make financial sense for them to pay off your lease, buy the car and then sell it on, then it will do that. And essentially, if it can do that, if it can cover its costs and make a profit without you having to sweeten the deal, then it will do that and you'll be able to walk away from your lease. It may be the case that you'll have to, you know, put in a few extra dollars of your own just to make sure that CarMax are making their profit. But it can work for a lease exit in this way. I like CarMax from the point of view that there are kind of a broader set of options available to you when it comes to getting out of your lease. So, you know, you're not just going to be looking for a third party that wants to take over your lease. You're dealing with a company that, you know, specializes in selling used cars. And so it may agree to take a lease off your hands, even if it doesn't make fiscal sense to the likes of Lease Trader or Swap a Lease. But you are still banking on that kind of support that you might not necessarily get from a third party. So if your car lease just doesn't really represent a good deal for CarMax, then it won't take it on and you may be left sitting with your car. In terms of value for money then, I do find that CarMax are quite competitive in this area and they do offer good deals. But again, like Swap a Lease and Lease Trader, if the interest isn't there in your model, then you're probably not going to get a good deal on it. The only one big advantage, I suppose, over Swap a Lease and Lease Trader in this area is that you're not paying fees for a car that you're not going to get rid of. So essentially, it's kind of like Lease End in that way, in that you're only paying money when your deal actually goes through. And so in summation then, I would stress that this is a highly personalised decision. If it makes more sense for you to try and buy or sell your car than to, we'll say, swap your lease, then you should probably go with Lease End or CarMax. But you may prefer to swap your lease for financial or for practical reasons. And in that case, something like Swap a Lease or Lease Trader might be the best option. In terms of the company that makes this process easiest and that offers the best value for money, I think Lease End is the winner here. I just think the process is really, really easy. They take a lot of the donkey work off your hands, and they also don't charge you anything unless your lease is successfully transferred, and also they don't charge you a consultation fee for this. So you're only paying through origination fees or through a cut of the profit on the sale of your car. So for that reason, I really think Lease End is the company offering the best service here. But again, just to stress, it is context dependent and it does really depend on your situation. But that's all for me on this video, and I'll see you all in the next one.